Your popularity has collapsed more significantly after winning an election than any other prime minister in modern history. Is that because you essentially misled the country during the election and you've raised taxes in a way that no one was expecting or voted for?
This budget is a real attack on the working people. The Labour Party has become a disgrace to our country, and the fact that they are humiliated and insulted on live TV is absolutely the right decision. Also today we will discuss the state of Keir Starmer's mental health, because it feels like he can't stand all the hatred that the people feel for him. We start watching the first scene.
I've also just been handed a piece of paper that tells me that the value for money czar, this dude David Goldstone, he can afford some stones of gold anyway after this, he will be paid £950 a day for 1 day a week on the Office of the Value for Money. He is the chairman of the Office for Value for Money. I promise you he worked in the Olympics, which went vastly over budget. I promise you he is on the board currently of HS2, not exactly the world's most value for money project. And yeah, it's been announced that he will be paid £950 a day for an average commitment of 1 day a week. This is £49,400 over the course of a year, far more than the average salary for people who work 9 to 5 days a week. Equivalent to a full-time salary of about £250,000, significantly more than Keir Starmer's £166,000 salary.
David Goldstone will now advise the Chancellor and the Chief Secretary of the Treasury on public spending cuts, and for this he will receive an impressive £950 a day. Previously, he was the Chief Operating Officer at the Ministry of Defence. In addition, he oversaw government investments of £9.3 billion for the Olympic Games.
And let's also talk about how unhappy he looks. I don't think he looks great. I really don't. I say that sort of soberly. You know, I looked at him next to Rachel Reeves delivering the budget, and, you know, a Prime Minister next to a Chancellor delivering a historic budget should be all eager-eyed, all kind of happy-faced, positive. He just looked wretched. He looked as was withdrawn, he looked haggard, he looked anxious, and well, he might be, given what he and his colleagues are doing to our country. But that does not say to me that this guy is in a good place emotionally at this point.
No, I don't think he is. I think he's finding the job too much for him, frankly. I think he's finding it incredibly difficult, incredibly kind of time-consuming. I mean, he went in, let's not forget, with his idea that he wasn't going to work beyond 6 o'clock on a Friday.
Starmer, who was supposed to become a symbol of the Labour Party and lead it to triumph, has now become a symbol of shame because most of the country openly hates him for his greed, hypocrisy and lies. His every step, every word is under the relentless eye of criticism. No one is shy about expressing their dissatisfaction because we are tired of tolerating his stupidity and disrespect for us. We see as Starmer tries to cope with this wave of hatred and he tries his best to stay afloat, but this burden is too heavy for him. At such moments, he closes his eyes and ears as if trying to escape from reality, pretending that he does not hear anything.
Your popularity has collapsed more significantly after winning an election than any other prime minister in modern history. Is that because you essentially misled the country during the election and you've raised taxes in a way that no one was expecting or voted for?
I came into politics relatively late in life, having done other things. I came in with one purpose only, and that is to change lives for the better. We made key choices yesterday in relation to the future of our country.
So choices that weren't in your manifesto. There was no suggestion of £14 billion of tax rises in that manifesto, Prime Minister.
We inherited a very badly damaged economy. We audited the books and found £22 billion missing. We had to do the responsible thing, which is to stabilise the economy.
After the pandemic, we witnessed a shocking authoritarian turn in liberal democracies. The government is approaching totalitarianism and seeks to create a society divided into two castes, masters and servants. And the mainstream media, as loyal servants of the regime, present the policy and new regulations as something right, and anyone who dares to doubt the true motives of these changes is ruthlessly called an extremist. At the same time, colossal amounts of public money are being spent on initiatives that cause only bewilderment. £3 billion are spent on arms supplies to Ukraine, £6 billion on hotel accommodation for migrants, £7 billion on foreign aid, and another £6 billion on the HS2 railway project. The reality of Starmer's strategy is that it is based on the principle of divide and conquer, where diversity is seen as a weakness, not as a strength.
I mean, they made the point that now borrowing has hit a high over the course of the last year in reaction to this budget. The markets have looked at it and they've said no, thank you,
right.
because this isn't a budget in their view that's going to stimulate economic growth. The markets are based, it's very intelligent people and lots of very complicated algorithms, and they come to a view as to whether this country is going anywhere economically. And they've made the decision going on the basis of this budget, given the high taxes that now, have gone up 40 billion, the burden of tax is going to go up to 38%, that actually Britain, under this Chancellor, and this is the view of the markets, is not going to secure economic growth. It's not going to get better. And that's why they don't think it's worth necessarily, we've seen the pound fall against.
The Labour Party presented its budget, which became a real tragedy for the whole country. Britain is expecting a shocking tax increase of £40 billion, which will be a devastating blow to an economy already on the brink. The tax burden will reach record levels not seen even during the Second World War. Not only the middle class and entrepreneurs will be under attack, but also private schools, as well as foreign oligarchs who have so far enjoyed preferential taxation in Britain. The adoption of such a budget is a recipe for disaster, which will lead to an even greater outflow of investors from the country. Britain is already almost at the top of the list in terms of the number of millionaires leaving, and few will want to invest in an economy that is barely breathing under the weight of taxes. The number of British companies on the verge of bankruptcy has soared by a third and reached a shocking 633,000. Nevertheless, we expect a sharp increase in borrowing to £120 billion per year. Britain's public debt has already exceeded 100% of the size of the economy, and this is happening for the first time in 60 years. London now spends twice as much on servicing the national debt as it does on its military spending. The extra money will go to dubious initiatives such as green energy, while pensioners are being stripped of subsidies for winter heating. The rebuilding of Britain under Starmer's leadership is going according to plan, but it is a plan of destruction. No British Prime Minister in history has managed to destroy the country so quickly and so ruthlessly in 3 months in power. The reaction of the foreign exchange market was instant and brutal. The pound collapsed to a 2-month low.
He just tells lies after lies now, because they didn't inherit a bad economy. They inherited actually an economy which was in pretty good shape. And they knew about a black hole because we've got texts and we've got video clips of him saying that there was a black hole of £54 million when he was asking Rishi Sunak about whether he was going to cancel the winter fuel allowance. And that was back in April, right? So absolute rubbish to say that we discovered that there was money missing and that we inherited a bad economy. Not true.
He knew about the problem. The Institute for Fiscal Studies, and that is, seen as being very supportive of sort of, if you like, the centre-left orthodoxy, has
absolutely
come out and said that we knew the books, but we knew everything that was in the financial books before the
The Labour Party tirelessly repeats its mantra that they have inherited the worst economic conditions since the Second World War. It sounds like a spell designed to justify their actions. But some economists disagree with this and believe that such rhetoric is nothing more than a political trick and not a serious analysis of the real state of affairs. They point out that behind these loud statements there is an attempt to hide the true causes of economic difficulties.
Spending this money, then he is not just doing it, and this is, you would expect this anyway, he's not doing it just out of his goodness of his heart.
No,
this isn't just some sort of donation to say, oh, well, there, just have some free clothes. He expects to be able to pick up the phone.
Yeah,
he expects to have access. He expects to have, the ear of ministers. And it's important to understand exactly how, when people give money or make donations, what they get in return, what decisions are being affected, where, as you say, do they have that access? And this.
Rayner, Starmer and Reeves decided to stop accepting donations for clothes after the Prime Minister and his closest associates came under fire for receiving free items. But what is Lord Ali's true power in the Labour government? Starmer insists that he is just a sponsor who demands nothing in return for his generosity. However, by giving Starmer and senior ministers more than £310,000 in gifts and services, he gained access to Downing Street, a place that is usually open only to those who work there. And so it turns out that Matthias Fording, who is responsible for the selection of candidates for deputies from the party, once worked for Lord Ali. Question: would he have gained such influence if he hadn't generously funded half of the cabinet? Or did his donations really help him get a seat at the government table?
I came in with one purpose only, and that is to change lives for the better. We made key choices yesterday in relation to the future of our country.
So choices that weren't in your manifesto. There was no suggestion of £40 billion of tax rises in that manifesto, Prime Minister.
We inherited a very badly damaged economy.
Over the years, he has generously invested about £700,000 in various projects of the Labour Party. But for a man with a fortune of £200 million, this is not a big amount. How easy it is to manipulate the political system when money becomes the main instrument of influence. What do you think about this video? Share your opinion in the comments. See you in the next video.